Welcome to episode 10, Football Club Chairman, The Hard Truth by Darren McAnthony. It's amazing we've even got to 10 episodes. I have to say thank you for the support so far. When I see the charts and the stats I get to see the podcast so high up in so many of the charts, not just in Britain, but Ireland and places like Norway, Poland, Portugal, as far as Singapore. It's great. And I've enjoyed doing the podcast during this kind of lockdown coronavirus period. So much has gone on in our football world. So much has gone on in our world itself. I'm not sure how many more I'll do. Obviously, there's got to be done per series. So maybe this series will end soon and I'll start a new series when, the next football season starts. But on today's episode, and the title of today's episode is The Final Vote, I'm going to discuss what's coming up. The EFL Vote is next Tuesday. A lot's been going on the last couple of weeks regards to the vote. I'm going to talk about life after the vote involving Posh. I'm going to talk about changes coming for the EFL and changes that need to be brought in now more than ever. I'm going to speak about normality, the word. I don't like the saying the new normal. I like normal. I like normality. And I feel that's what's coming for all of us again. And those of you who've, stayed positive throughout this kind of pandemic, fair play to you. Those of you not so much and who've been affected by it, I'm sorry about that. I know there's still people worried about leaving their houses. There's still people worried about the news headlines they read every day, the scaremongering. I can only speak from my own perspective, particularly living here in Florida, in the States. I know sometimes those opinions rile people up. They upset people. They like to come at me with headlines and say that, Florida's still got lots of infections and blah. But, listen, I don't believe everything I read. Certainly not from the news nowadays, and the mainstream media's got a lot to answer for what we've gone through, what we are going through, and what we're seeing out there in the world. So that's what's going to happen on today's episode. Obviously, the unfortunate side of what we're seeing worldwide, particularly in America, is riots and looting. I just want to say that from a perspective of protesting, peaceful protesting, I have no problem with that at all. I think everyone has the right to do it. It's a constitutional right here in America. When you see it go into looting and rioting and the after effects and the aftermath of that in the various states we've seen here in America, I hate that. I despise seeing it. I've seen some of it's gone to the UK. None of us want to see violence, not in the year 2020. I think we're all agreed with that. After everything we've gone through as a human race the last few months, to see the riot, the looting and everything that's gone on, it's obviously it saddens you. I understand the rights of the protesters. I understand why they're protesting, and rightly so. We all saw what we saw on TV last week when that man was obviously murdered by a police officer. And everyone has their opinions on that, and they're free to have their opinions on that. People have asked me about it on Twitter. I've stayed out of it. I think no matter what opinion now you give nowadays, you're going to get vilified. And I think it's best sometimes to take a backseat to that as regards to throwing out your own heavy thoughts and opinions on people and forcing your opinions down people's necks. What's right to say and what's right to see is that, all police aren't perfect. I have friends who are police officers here in the States. I have them in the UK. They look after our fans at Posh games, and they shouldn't be all vilified by one person's bad actions. But the actions were disgusting. I think we're all agreed with that. There's no doubt in anyone's mind, whoever you are watching that it was murder. And justice needs to be served. And that's where I stand on that. And it's not about getting political, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right. I think we all agree it was disgusting. It was a disgusting sight. That shit shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen in 2020. Unfortunately, it still does. And change needs to be brought in so it doesn't happen anymore. As regards to people out there who, if you are protesting, I respect your right to protest. Do it safely and look out for yourself out there, because particularly over here in some states, it's turned into a very dangerous situation with what you see with the looting and the rioting. So let's hope that stops soon. The one thing it has actually taught us all and showed us all is that the scientists over here in America in particular aren't very overly concerned about COVID-19 anymore. In fact, they're signing letters and putting statements out telling people to go out and protest in large crowds. 2 weeks ago, people were getting arrested for opening up their gym or their hairdressers. People were getting arrested for playing with their kids in parks because they weren't social distancing. Now, all of a sudden, the scientists tell us it's okay for 100,000 people to congregate in small areas. So I guess the one positive news from all of this is that, bar the not getting the dreaded spike of COVID coming back in a big way, hopefully we can now see that the normality will come back in. There'll be no more lockdowns. Now that people are allowed out and they're allowed out in big crowds, hopefully the places that still have lockdowns in place end them. And as we get into the summer, we will see proper normality come back. And it makes me very confident and positive that, particularly in the UK, that we're going to have football with fans inside stadiums again. I know it's going to happen here in America first. And I think it's, that will give confidence to the UK and to the health authorities that we can have a certain capacity in our stadium. And hopefully that will start when the new season starts. And then as you edge towards Christmas, there's no doubt in my mind we'll be back to full capacity. Yeah, of course, the flu season will come. No doubt there will be COVID cases. No doubt some of the media will lose their shit and say that the second, third, fourth, and fifth wave and lock everyone up again. We're past all that now. No more lockdowns. And for my friends and family that are living in the UK, I feel it's sad that you still can't go out and have a coffee in a restaurant. It's sad you can't go get a haircut. I know you've been hit hard, but when you see the rest of the world now opening up, you see that there's no massive follow-on second wave, second peak. It's beyond parody that you're still locked in your houses, or you're still not allowed to open your bar, you're not allowed to open your restaurant, and you're not allowed to go get your haircut. Fucking baffling for me, particularly where I live in the States. So, hopefully there are much better times ahead. I think for anyone sitting at home still who has a business or is out of work and is worried about it, we've seen today in the States, the job reports, they were expected to announce 10 million jobs lost, and instead it was announced 3 million jobs added, nearly 3 million. So what it's shown you is there's an appetite for people to get back to some sort of normality, to get back to work, to businesses to resume, to life go on. I think it'll happen in the UK. If you're right now, you're worried about how you're going to pay your mortgage, how you're going to pay your bills, there's going to be jobs, there's going to be work, there's going to be opportunity. We're definitely getting through this. I think by the end of the year, reading it and seeing it now, not that you can trust all modelers and scientists and everything else, but you can definitely, the companies that are making vaccines and therapies, there's no doubt in my mind by Christmas, this thing's going to be long in the back window, in the rear view mirror, so to speak. And we can put 2020 behind us, because right now, if you go back to New Year's Eve, 2019, December 31st, I don't think anybody, not even the great Nostradamus, would have predicted what was coming in 2020. Not from a health perspective or a political perspective, or even from a football perspective. I think we can all agree 2020 is a fucking shit year so far, and we need to get into 2021, and hopefully better times are ahead. So enjoy the podcast today. As always, I appreciate feedback, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's indifferent. I have my opinion. It's not always going to be popular with everyone out there. It's not always going to win me fans. It's probably going to lose me fans at times. But I won't change being me. I won't change from being the transparent person I am. I'll always be true to myself. I live my life the right way. I try and run my football club the right way. And I try and offer advice to people out there, because at the tender age of 44, I've been there, seen it and done it, good and bad. Lots of people email me all the time. I welcome the emails. I liaise and email back with lots of people out there, even people who are non-football fans, Posh fans, who just ask me about business, about life and advice and what they should do next. I'm always happy to help. Time is free, and I've got time, and I'm happy to help and share it with you. So, as I said, enjoy it. We'll be back after the break, and we'll talk about the final vote. Welcome back. So, Tuesday's D-Day for the EFL. Obviously, this shit show has been going on for too long. With an EFL meeting, it was 3 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago yesterday. All the options were discussed. We were told to put proposals together. We were told there was an appetite for maybe a larger playoff scenario. There was an appetite for the teams who didn't want to play not to have to play. There was an appetite for a fair way for a team like Tranmere to possibly play a game to work out and not get relegated, because it would be very unfair on them. All the things were discussed. We felt there were things brought up at the meeting at the time about, could we get the PFA to intervene and help pay for the testing that was dropped upon us last minute by the EFL? Was there a way of reaching out to the government about the furlough situation, that we could get players back training but still claim furlough because they weren't really playing games? All these suggestions were put forward, and we were all hoping. And we talked about the bailout, the money needed, the different things that would come up. And we were all of the expectation that, we would get news pretty soon, and we'd get answers to those questions. And here we are 3 weeks later. We still haven't had the vote. We still haven't resolved anything. I think ideally for the EFL, it's got to the stage where now it's really, really too late to finish the League One season. I don't know whose narrative that fits in the EFL, but we are here at this moment in time. I've said it before. I don't want to be overcritical of the EFL. I understand the job Rick Parry has to do. I understand how difficult it is to make it happen. What I don't understand is when we stopped playing in March, and we were told for 2 months there was going to be a date to resume training. We were going to finish the season. I was told that in the telephone call verbally. It was the plan all along. I don't understand how we get to a stage where it's like, well, we're not finishing the season. Fuck it. We got to come up with another way of doing it. And let's go down this points per game nonsense. All the EFL had to do, in my opinion, and this is me moaning, and this is, I know the Rotherham fans and the Wickham fans will be getting riled up listening to this right now because they seem to want to make me their favourite bad guy. Because one club obviously wants to, have their promotion. The other club wants to be in the playoffs. Fair play, whatever club goes up, whatever club's in the playoffs, and whatever way it works out, that's the way it is. But hear me out. We were told this, it changed. The EFL had enough time to get their shit in gear, their act together, to come back and tell us when we had that chat in May, guys, great news. The Premier League's back, the Championship's back, the Health Department have told us, let's get the show on. Let's turn the lights back on. Yeah, you're not going to have fans. It's 9 or 10 games. Okay, we'll live with that. We've got the testing paid for. It's 130 grand. We've managed to secure a deal. We've got a bit of extra funding. We've got this done. We've got this resolved. Let's do it. Let's be professional. Let's finish our leagues. These are your dates. We want your asses back in training on the 25th of May. Your first games are going to be the 20th of June. This is the deal we've done with Sky. All that needed to be put in place. If I'm running that organisation, if I'm behind the scenes, that's how I lead. I'm telling clubs that's what we're doing. To suddenly put it back on clubs. Well, do you want to play? Do you not want to play? Do you want to do the playoffs? Do you not want to do the playoffs? Do you want to be relegated? 9, 10. Listen, biggest load of bollocks you've ever heard in your life. Let's be really honest. Look in the mirror. Whether you're a Rotherham fan or you're a fan of Wickham, whether you're a fan of MK Dons and Wimbledon, and everyone out there who's pleading poverty and pleading we can't finish the season, but we can start a new one in a couple of months. We can't finish the season, but we can play in the playoffs. We can't finish the season, but we're happy to take a fake promotion. Anyone who thinks like that, put all that bullshit to the side. The people who were a couple of weeks ago throwing it's the health, it's too dangerous, we can't play, people are going to die, you can't put your players in danger. Now we're all licking our lips, jizzing in our pants about the prospect of 3,000 Premier League games on TV. We're going to be able to watch every day from the 20th. I'm watching teams back training. I'm watching League Two teams back training. The Cobblers, our rivals, their fans are letting me know how great it is that their club's back training. Good luck to them. I hope they win promotion. It's a great derby. It's a great rivalry. But you're watching all of this and you're just thinking, my God, and everyone's going on about, the agenda. There's journalists from clubs writing their own articles about it and why the season should finish and why those selfish bastards who want to continue need to put clubs above everything else and blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'll say it again and I'll stick to this. I vote for football. Okay? I bought a football club to play football. I didn't play a football club to sit in my fucking office watching every other league play but my league. Okay? And if you own a football club in League One or League Two, there's 71 football clubs in our league. We're one of the most professional leagues in the world. We're revered and admired from outside. And that admiration and everything else has probably gone out the window. Because right now we look Mickey Mouse. The Championship and the Premier League will go and play. League One and League Two, curtail, end the season, have a little playoff thing for those other teams that want to go up. That's it, we're done. How do we look right now to the outside world? The third division in Germany's playing. There's some of our youth, 9 and 10s, are back training at the moment. Okay, my daughter's back in a volleyball tournament over here, and I own a professional football club with players worth millions of pounds that aren't allowed to go out and train or play football or finish our season. You tell me how that looks to the rest of the world, and save the arguments of it's too late to finish. Yeah, it might be too late to finish, but that's where the EFL have put us. Instead of from day one leading the charge and telling us how it needed to be done, instead of throwing it back upon them on 23 clubs to fight amongst themselves, it's like saying to my kids, and I've got 3 of them, there you go, guys, there's some meat, there's some chicken, there's a hamburger, go fight amongst yourselves what you have for dinner. It's not how it works in my house. My missus dictates, she cooks the food, there it is, get on and eat. Maybe a poor analogy, but you get my point. There's 22 clubs basically fighting amongst themselves how we're doing it and how we're finishing it. Of course, there's going to be individual agendas. There's 22 of us. At the end of the day, you might say, yes, it's democracy and democracy. It's not how the EFL is meant to be operated and run. We don't all decide when we play games. We don't all decide, I want to play this club next Saturday and that club next Tuesday. That's all decided by the EFL. We don't decide, I want more money than the other club. No, it's all equally paid out, but it's decided by the EFL. We don't get involved in negotiating cup deals, TV money deals, because no, that's how the EFL do it themselves. We appoint the board to make the decisions on our behalf and it gets done. So save me the shite. Save me the, we can't afford to finish. We don't care how it ends. We'll go with the majority. It's an absolute clown show. All right. I've said it from day one. I'll keep saying it. All right. I'm not happy with it. It is what it is. We're most likely going to get fucked by the end of the vote. PW United will be in League One next season. Okay, we'll deal with that. We're already planning for that. Tranmere are probably going to get relegated. Yes, we're going to scream about the injustice, but I'm telling you right now, when the vote comes down, those other clubs out there, particularly owners, if you are listening to this as well, I'd like you to show some bollocks. I'd like you to put your balls on the table. I'd like you to actually look at it for what it is, because I've got a prediction for you. When you vote to curtail and end the season, when you vote to do this, it'll be a dark blot in the copybook for the EFL League One and League Two. History won't look favourable on us for making this decision and making this vote. In fact, I go as far as to predict, and here's a prediction for you, and everyone's been fearful of this for years. If we don't get our shit in order, if we don't get our act together, if we don't start looking like a professional league, professional outfits, all right, teams that play football, if we don't do this, in the next few years, probably within 5 years, you're going to see Prem 1 and Prem 2. You're going to see Championship break away. They'll break away. There'll be 2 Premier Leagues and League One and League Two. I don't know what will become of it. They'll probably end up getting in some sort of a B team system like you see in other countries. But the good old days of the football pyramid, it'll collapse. Simple as that. These decisions, these votes you're making right now for the sake of a few $100,000. And I say that and you say, well, that's arrogant of you. Clubs can't afford it. And we did all the modelling on it. It's $400,000 at most to finish the season for the majority of clubs. To not finish the season, it's still going to cost them a couple of $100,000. So really, the financial argument that goes out the window. It's the biggest load of nonsense I've ever seen. Did the modelling. No other clubs, bar a few clubs with an agenda of their own, coming out with nonsense like it's £1 million to finish the season. Keep smoking that cigar, because it's the biggest load of shit you've ever heard in your life. But I understand where you're coming from. But it's not the truth. I told the EFL to do proper modelling amongst all the clubs, present your costs, present what it really is, do an average across the board, what it would cost to finish the season. They didn't even do that. They left it to individual people like me to come out with the true costs. Tranmere did similar. And then you had other clubs who hyped it up to $500,000 all the way up to $1 million. Of course, yes, we've all got an agenda. My figures were real. They were very transparent. I went all the way through with it. So at the end of the day, it could have been brought to us by the EFL. It could have been put out there publicly. This is the real cost of playing and not finishing. And I'll tell you right now, I'll never live with this decision. For me, being in football 15 years, the idea that my football club can't play football or being told not to play football, and we still don't know when we're going to play football again. My players could end up going 5-6 months, if you look from March and we start again the end of September, without kicking a football. These are professional athletes. This is what they're paid to do. Now they're going to be sat at home twiddling their thumbs. How can that be professional? How can that be, as an EFL, if you own a club out there, how can that be right? So we get to the vote, we get to the different scenarios. Let me just run you through, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details. There's a lot of information that's come through. There's multiple votes on the scenario that's coming up for Tuesday. There's a meeting in the morning. There's a vote in the afternoon. Tranmere's proposal, fair play to Mark Palios and Nicola Palios, great owners, good people. They've worked really hard. I understand their perspective. They invested in January. They always finish season strong. They invested so that they would stay in League One and hopefully build from there. It's a community club, good fan base. And he's put forward the argument that it would be an absolute disgrace if they got relegated, particularly where they are. They've won 3 games in a row. They're 3 points behind, I think it was Wimbledon. You look at their fixture list, some of the teams they've beaten. If you were a bookie, you would put the odds-on favourites staying in League One all day long. You look at last year's league, you see Wimbledon near the bottom, and they ended up escaping relegation. You see some of the other clubs, you do a statistical analysis, there's no way Tranmere are getting relegated. But because of this vote, because of everyone deciding not to want to play football for the sake of a few $100,000, and they actually own football clubs, Tranmere are going to get relegated. They're going to get stuck down in League Two. But the vote itself, and what Mark has put together, and he's been very eloquent, and it's a very detailed document. I'm going to summarize it really, really quickly. He's used an average of the last 3 years. He's done a statistical analysis instead of the points per game, the way it's going to be at the moment. He's done a logical analysis of the last 3 years. And he's gone through all the regulations. He's written up all the documentations. And the way it would work is, if you take the last 3 years as an average on a points analysis and whatever else, Coventry would go up. They'd get their promotion. You get Rotherham then, who are right now, they're 3 points clear of us. They're 2 points clear of other teams. They're 3 points clear with eight teams in the chase. So they want this promotion. They think it's their God-given right to be promoted to the Championship. It's not. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm sorry to bring on more hatred, more trolling, more vitriol on Twitter from Rotherham fans or local journalists in Rotherham. If you really think winning this promotion where you are right now is fair and proper and the right thing to do. I don't know what you're smoking. But right now, it would bring Rotherham back into a playoff race. It would take 8 teams from second down to ninth or wherever it would be, or 10th. It would give people to opt in or opt out. So if Doncaster were in the mix, and according to their local journalist or whatever, there's no appetite for them to play football. If they wanted to give their slot up, I think Ipswich would get the slot instead. You'd have 8 teams in 2 groups of 4 playing off against each other. What Mark probably wasn't really clear about was how the playoff would work. Because what you're finding is you got teams probably like Portsmouth, and I've got great affinity with their MD. I've enjoyed, corresponding with him, whatever else. And you've probably got Fleetwood who are like, well, we don't want to be involved in an 18 playoff, even though there's 2 promotion spots. It might mean at the moment where, say, for example, Fleetwood would play Wickham, Fleetwood might end up playing Sunderland, or Portsmouth would end up playing Peterborough. And obviously we're every team's worst nightmare to play. So a lot of those teams are thinking, well, no, and I see the perspective. I'd probably be the same. But that's not what's being suggested. You'd have 2 pools of 4 teams. You'd have the current top 6 with Rotherham, the 4 teams there that would play their own playoff, and you'd have 1 winner. You'd have the next 4 teams play their own playoff. There'd be 1 winner. So the teams currently in the playoff places, including Rotherham, they should have no fear. There's no worry. You're not going to meet Sunderland or Peterborough or whatever else in the playoffs. You'll be okay. So I've no idea why you would vote against Tranmere's proposal. Their proposal would allow them not to be relegated. And when you look at where Southend and Bolton are, I think it's fair. It also allows Wimbledon to stay in League One and not have to play again and get into a relegation battle. Same with MK Dons. We all know why Pete Winkelman doesn't want to play the season out. MK Dons most likely would get relegated when you look at their form. So I understand where he's coming from. He's already been relegated recently. He doesn't want to go back to League Two. But the beauty about the Tranmere proposal is that it doesn't punish anybody. It's a fair way to end the season. It's a fair way to get football back on. Imagine an 18 playoff, 2 groups of 4. It would be great TV. Imagine basically not relegating a team like Tranmere under these circumstances. Imagine your Burtons of the world, your Accrington Stanleys, your Rochdales. You don't want to play any more football. Your MK Dons. You don't have to play any more football. Then it was said by some of the owners, oh, well, we might have to pay about 80, 90 grand to actually do this vote. With an extra team in League One next year, there might be less solidarity in EFL money. It's a load of bullshit. They haven't studied it properly. There's an extra home game. Okay, the way it works out, it's minimalistic. You're all telling us you don't want to play football. Even if it was 40 grand for this decision to be made, big deal. You're doing the right thing. You're avoiding a club like Tranmere being unfairly relegated. You're avoiding, killing teams like Ipswich, Sunderland, Peterborough, who don't deserve not to play football when they want to play football, and the thousands of fans they've got out there. Why would you not vote for this? And I'm hoping Mark is on the telephone speaking to all of these clubs, and I include them all out there. For me, when I saw the proposal, I thought every club would vote for this. It's the right thing to do. But no, here we go again. No, not interested, not interested. No idea where you're coming from. Again, if any of the owners of those clubs are out there, please look in the mirror. Please think about this. This is the right way to end League One. It's not a plea or a beg from me. I know they're all going to vote to curtail and probably do the stupid points per game system. They're going to punish Tranmere. They're going to punish other football clubs. It's not the right thing to do. So for those in the playoffs right now who are thinking about not voting for it, have a think about what I just said. It's not going to affect where you are in the playoffs. Yes, I know Rotherham are going to be upset, but everyone keeps telling me they're one of the best teams in the league. Why would they fear winning promotion properly on the football field? They've done it so many times the last few years. They've got one of the best squads. What's the big deal? You're going to have to play 3 games. 3 games, and that's it. Wouldn't it be great to actually win promotion properly on your pitch? So the other vote is Barnsley. They've put a proposal together about no relegation. I'm not going to give that much impetus at the moment because it doesn't go into the League One scenario. Lincoln have made a suggestion about weighted, non-weighted points per game, and I understand their perspective. The chief executive, he centered it on the Bolton points deduction. And he factored in that the points earned on the pitch doesn't seem illogical. He deemed it illogical. He talks about it's not fair. They had a lot of away games early on. So when you look at the points per game scenario, it should be home and away, as opposed to the way they want to work it out at the moment, where it's just across the board. So Ipswich have put forward an amendment where you would see a 10-team tournament vying for 3 playoff places. Again, well done to Marcus Evans. At least he's fighting to put something across. Stevenage have also put a proposal in, and now obviously involves them now getting relegated from League Two. I understand for what Phil Wallace is coming from. We don't know what's going to go on with non-league. He doesn't want to see a great football club like Stevenage go out of business, because if they end up in non-league, they don't know when they're going to start up again. They've got a terrific academy, great staff. Look, there is a way to do this which suits everyone. The Tranmere proposal does suit everyone. It brings in a lot of teams to get to play football, to earn the right to get promoted. It saves clubs that shouldn't be unjustly relegated. It gets clubs involved in League Two as well, if they go down the route of taking the Tranmere proposal on board for their own league, where I think they'd play off for three playoff places. So I think it's the best solution that's been put forward. Like I said to you, I think Mark and Nicola have done a great job. They've put together a really, really thoughtful solution for everyone. I'm astonished so many clubs came out straight away and said no. Again, fucking baffles me. I'm hoping they have a rethink. I'm hoping Mark can get his point across in the meeting. I think on Tuesday he'll get to speak about it. We'll get to vote on it. In my mind, there's no doubt we should get at least 13 to 14 votes for it. So right now, as it stands from what I'm hearing publicly, everyone's saying no. When the cold light of day sets in, a little bit more explanation, a bit more transparency maybe is given to all those various clubs about what voting for this would mean for everybody. Hopefully people will see sense. Hopefully the Accringtons, the Rochdales, the MK Dons, the Wimbledons of the world who don't want to play football will see this as a way they don't actually have to play football, and it's right and proper. It allows teams who do want to play, and it allows a team like Tranmere not to get unjustly relegated. So best proposal out there for me, that's the one that needs to get the vote. I implore all football fans of clubs like Sunderland, Ipswich, our fans, if you're a Doncaster fan and you want your team to play on, if you're a Tranmere fan, if you're a fan of a club like MK Dons, and even Wimbledon fans, because Wimbledon fans are meant to be the holy grail of doing things the right way in football. So it probably doesn't sit with some of their fans, of a vote that would relegate Tranmere. I'm sure most Wimbledon fans who are proper football people will see that it would be unjust to relegate Tranmere when you see where Wimbledon were a year ago. So it would be a great chance if they came out and said, you know what, we support this proposal. It's the right thing for football. It's the right thing for football clubs to do. So I would love to see fans of all the various clubs out there to go forward and push for the Tranmere proposal to get a yes vote. I'll be in the meeting on Tuesday. Both sets of meetings. I'll be getting up at 4 a.m. Sky have asked me back in the football show on Wednesday. They've enjoyed having me on the 2 times I've been on. They've asked me to come on Wednesday for a longer period of time to talk about it. Happy to do so. And that's where we are with the vote. You know which way I'm going to be voting. I'll always vote for football. The Tranmere proposal is a vote for football. And it's a vote for the true integrity of football. And anyone who opposes it, particularly if it's over 40 or 50 or 60 grand, I'm sorry, but no, you don't deserve my respect. And I lose a lot of respect for a lot of the people out there who want to vote down that proposal based on the sake of a few grand, particularly, punishing a club like Tranmere. So let's all get together. If you're a fan out there listening to this, have a read of it, have a think about it. It's the right thing to do. Let's put a bit of momentum over the weekend behind it. And hopefully people by Tuesday will have changed their minds for the right reasons. I'll be back after the break and I'll talk about life after the vote for Posh and a few other things as well. Thank you very much. Welcome back. So in this segment, I'm going to talk about life after the vote for the Posh. So let's say, as predicted, the vote goes against us. We have to down tools. Myself, Jason and Randy have prepped for this. We've worked, long hours. I'm still working on stuff today. We're planning for the future. We're planning for another season in League One. I'm calling it the Vengeance Tour. We had a Zoom call with all our employees last week. We had over 100 people on the Zoom call. It was lovely to see all their faces. They're in their gardens and the living rooms, all obviously under lockdown. And we were really honest and transparent with them. We explained to them what was happening. We explained that most of them are going on furlough. We explained that we are not allowed to play football. We as a club are being essentially shut down from doing what we're meant to do. People are making votes, making decisions that we've got no way we can stop. We've got no control over what's happening. I warned this was going to happen. I don't want to lose employees. We explained to people that, look, we're furloughing the players. We hadn't done it. We've been told by the EFL we were going to finish the season. Based on that advice, we decided not to furlough our players. We didn't furlough a lot of our staff. Now we're going to have to furlough a lot of them because if we're not allowed to play football again, and I think the new season will start on the 30th of September, there's no point in bringing people back to work. There's no point in bringing players back to training. We're basically in a position where we're being told you cannot operate as a football club. I was really honest and transparent. Jason and Randy spoke to everyone. I spoke at the end. We asked all the staff if they had any questions. We just want to be really honest, clear and upfront with them all because they've all got mortgages to pay. They've got bills to pay. They've got, kids to feed and educate. They're already in a shit spot mentally, a lot of them as well, because of what's going on. And now they're hearing their football club can't get back to doing what it's meant to do. So at the end, I just explained to everyone, look, right now it's shit. We're all feeling like shit. It's an injustice. We're being stopped doing what we're good at. We're being stopped doing what we operate and do on a day-to-day basis. But we will be back, and it will be a couple of months. And when we come back, we have to come back with absolute passion, desire. We have to have a drive over the injustice. We have to have the largest chip on. I pointed to my left shoulder and said, we have to have the largest chip you've ever seen on a shoulder that we've got to make next year. For me, it's about vengeance. We have got to put a promotion challenge together. We've got to come back from this as a football club that's together, that's united, all those cliches. I don't care whether you work in a ticket office, whether you cut our grass, whether you score 25 goals. We collectively, together, as a football club, have to right this injustice. We have to right this wrong. And that is our mission. As an ownership, we're putting it together. We understand the financial deficits we're going to face. We understand it's going to be a horror show financially because of what's happened with the pandemic. We understand tough decisions have to be made, but we also understand our way out of this is through our football, our academy, our staff, and breathing life into what we can do. And that's what our new campaign will all be about. And we'll put together a squad and a team that we feel can win promotion. We have a team off the pitch that we already feel is ready for promotion, ready to be championship staff. So that was the big conversation. Not one of our staff criticised, moaned, and they understood the situation we were in. They understood the fight that, the three of us as owners have put up the last few months, that we want to continue. We want to play football. I'm sure lots of them are angry at the situation they find themselves in. Nobody wants to be at home. Everyone wants to be back at work. All of our players are absolutely devastated that they're now going to be furloughed. They're not going to be able to play football. There was not one player who said they didn't want to play. My manager rang me. First time in 3 months or 10 weeks, he'd been to the training ground. I think he was like a kid at Christmas. He saw the grass. He saw the sprinklers on. We'd made some changes and put some things up around the 3G pitch, some new stands. We'd circle out new pitches for the youth academy and for the first team. And it's probably the best the training grounds looked in like 5 years. And he said to me, Chairman, I just wanted to get the balls out and I wanted to play. And he was up and then he was down. He was up when he saw it and he was down when he thought that I can't get out there. I can't play. I can't see my players. So I understand where he is. I've told him, look, we're making plans. You got to go and take a long holiday with your family at the end of this month. Get away from it all as soon as the UK allows you to. Get abroad. Go wherever you got to go. He's going to speak to all the players before he does that, before they all head off. We've got to speak to players who are leaving the club. We've got to speak to players that potentially aren't going to be with us next season. I'm going to try and get over to the UK because I've got to talk to the players about other things we need to do. So there's a lot of planning going on. Right now the plan is that we're going to be back for pre-season training the end of July. And the start of the season will be the end of September. It will give us an 8-week build-up to get it right, to start next season. That's what we feel is going to happen. That's what's been hinted to us. If that's taken away, well, I don't know what I'd say or what I'd do. But right now, what we need to see after this vote comes down, we need to see the EFL being strong. We need the EFL to come out and say 30th of September to 31st of September, these are your fixtures. This is what's going to happen. This is when you're back playing, and this is the way we're going to do it. So we need guidance from above. We need leadership. I don't want to see any bullshit about let's have a vote when we play again. I don't want to see any nonsense about what clubs don't want to play because they're not going to have fans for a few games. If you're one of those clubs, for me, you know what? I don't want to say it, but it's almost like you don't belong in League One or League Two. There is a bailout that's going to come. There is going to be financial help, but enough bullshit already about not playing football. We need to get back as football clubs playing football. It's our main product. I've said it for a long time. So that's what we're planning for until we're told any differently. We can only be professional. We're methodical in what we do, and that's what we're going to do for next season. We've already identified who we recruit. We've identified who we're going to sell. Some players we're not going to get a chance to see again. The last game you've maybe seen them in was the Portsmouth victory in March. That's sad, and you got to let that sink in for a while. But you know what? Through this, our fans have been magnificent. They bought season tickets. They've supported us. They bought merchandise online. We're working out a deal for our fans who didn't get to see the final 5 home games that had season tickets. We're going to come to a compromise on that. We're not just going to say, oh, we don't have to do anything and we just move on to next season. That's not right. So we're in this with our fans, their family, and the people who are buying season tickets, keep buying them. You will get football next season with crowds. So I'm absolutely confident of it. So keep buying your season ticket, because even if it's a reduced capacity, we'll make sure all our season ticket holders will be the reduced capacity. So say we're allowed 13,000 in our stadium attended, but we're only allowed 30%, which is 4,000 people. They're our season ticket holders. You get the first choice to come and watch the game. So for me, buy your season tickets, support us as a club. We'll be bringing out lots of merchandise throughout the summer. We're going to need everyone's help here. We're going to need everyone's patience. We're going to have to negotiate. We got creditors from everything that's rolled over from what happened. Like every other business, it's going to be tough. It's going to hit us hard, but you know what? It won't kill us. There are people out there, their actions, their votes could end up harming us and putting us out of business. Not going to happen. We'll be back. We'll be stronger than ever. Ownership's united on that. We have plans. We want to win promotion. We want to be a championship club. Or as I said, it could be a Prem 2 club. So now more than ever, we need to get promoted next season. We want to buy the stadium down the line. We want to build a stadium down the line. Those plans haven't changed. This virus has affected all of us individually as well as business people. Our circumstances aren't as good as they were before, but we'll come back from that. We'll build on that, just like everyone out there who's in the same predicament. You know, whether you're a wealthy person, non-wealthy person, you're going to bounce back from this. And the spirit of the people in Peterborough, it's definitely going to drive us, and it's going to drive us. Our fan base is going to drive us. So I've got to start getting myself mentally excited for next season. Once the vote comes down, once we're told we can't do what we love doing, I've got to start going into plan mode. And plan mode for me is promotion. And there is no other thing. Next season for us has to be all about promotion. And that's where we're with that. So there's going to be lots of changes coming. There's going to be lots of things happening. Some of the things I want to see changes in the EFL. And I've been fighting for these for months, and I hope they're working on them behind the scenes. And I think they are. I want to see the loan system change. I want to see the loan system capped. I've said it before. I want League 2 and League 1 together on this, where we cap or we pay for loans from the Championship and the Premier League. No more paying 2, 3, 4 grand a week in loan wages. We cap this at 500-700 quid a week. We cap it at 8-month loans, where we don't have to pay for players in summer months that they don't play football in, which has been put upon us by some of the bigger clubs over time. We're in this together. We've got to make it happen. The EFL have got to be driving and forcing this home. I want to see a deal with the PFA. I want the EFL, and if they don't want to do it, or if they can't do it, I'll fly over and I'll sit with the PFA. There's too many footballers going to be unemployed at the end of June, come the end of July. There's going to be over 1,000 players who are not going to have employment, who are going to be out of work. The PFA have to understand the challenges we as clubs face next season and the following season. For me, it's a 2-year thing. It's an adjustment until true normality comes back financially for football. Because right now what we're doing is we're borrowing. Right now we're getting bailout help, hopefully in the time to come. We're going to need help from the PFA. You have to sit down with your members, and you have to make them all understand that we quite possibly, all of us football clubs, particularly League 1 and League 2, are going to need a 30% pay deduction next year. It's got to be done. It's got to be brought in. I understand players don't want to give up money. I understand they have families, they have mouths to feed. But for the collective, think of the players who don't have contracts next year. Think about the decision that if you don't come to an agreement on a pay reduction in your contracts, there are other players out there with families who aren't going to get jobs, because clubs are just going to go down the youth route. They're going to have smaller squads. They're going to sign less players. And while you're there comfy on your big contract and you've given nothing up, all your fellow players who haven't got contracts and haven't got clubs are going to suffer. Clubs are going to suffer. So you got to do the right thing. We're all going to take pain. It's going to taste. It's going to be horrible medicine to taste for a while. It'll be a year, 2 years maximum. But the PFA have to come to an agreement with their members, and they've got plenty of money, the PFA. Sit down with them all, talk to them all, that from August onwards, when the new season's on the horizon, there has to be a 30% pay adjustment. My compromise would be, if we get a 30% pay adjustment, you give an extra time on the contract to a player so there's a bit more security down the line. You give bonuses out based on promotions and success. We can make it all up. But we're going to have to work together to make it all up. The EFL, I've said it for a while, they got to work on this £250 million fund, bailout relief. We're going to need help. The government can't give it to us. The Premier League are sitting on an £8-9 billion contract. We're going to need help from them, whether it's to be paid back now or down the line. But we're all going to need collective help. I've said it before, League 1, probably going to need £1 million to £1.5 million per club. League 2, probably £1 million upwards. And the Championship will be 4, 5, 6 million each. So there is help that needs to be given. Hopefully the EFL are strong in those negotiations right now. We've had no update on it. It would be a nice time to get that update, particularly if you're going to kill our season on Tuesday. It would be great to say, we've killed your season, you can't play football, but here you go. Here's some money to get you through July and August and through this bump so that we can continue planning. Football right now is not in a healthy position. It's getting attacked from all sides. Players are going to get attacked from all sides as well from a greed perspective if they don't come to a deal. We need to get better. We need to heal. And the only way we can heal is doing it collectively and making deals. And this isn't about just suiting clubs. And we don't want to cut players, and we don't want to cut wages, and we don't want to release players. We're meant to be a football family. This is a time right now that after this is done, after this dark period passes, if we can come out of it with some new strategies in place, like the PFA deal, like the loan system, and possibly a wage cap for a couple of years for League One and League Two, to get us all back on the straight and narrow, to help us pay creditors, help us pay debts that have accrued through the coronavirus, we're then going to be in great shape. Football in 24 months could be in the best shape it's ever been in. So now's the time for change. Now's the time to make it happen. But we have to do it together, all right? And we have to all be singing from the same hymn sheet. Yes, I know it's all about agendas at the moment, about playing football and not playing football, but I'm talking down the line. I'm talking about the long-term health of football. I'm talking about the long-term health of League One, League Two, and the Championship. The Premier League can help. The Premier League can, maybe I don't know what else they can do. Hopefully the Premier League will see going out and signing foreign players in this next transfer window and spending 20, 30, 40 million on players when there's some really talented players in the Championship in League One and younger players in League Two. Maybe they can do a bit more transfer shopping and domestic shopping at home. Listen, you get quarantined when you fly into the UK. A lot of flights don't leave the UK at the moment. It would be great if the transfer market went the same way and there was a lot of domestic shopping going on. So there's some of my ideas for life after the vote, particularly affecting the Posh, particularly affecting the EFL. I don't want to piss off the EFL. I don't want them to feel I'm constantly having a go at them. I can be critical, but if I come with solutions, then I feel the criticism's justified. For those who constantly criticize the EFL and don't offer solutions or don't offer the olive branch or don't offer the help, you got no right to criticize. I've said this all along. If the EFL want me to help, to negotiate, to sit with the PFA, to get involved in talking about the £250 million bailout we need, anything they need, I would come over to the UK, quarantine myself for 2 weeks, and then go and do it. I would do that because it's the right thing to do for football. People want to call me a selfish bastard. They want to basically vilify me for holding everything up, which is the biggest load of bollocks you've ever read. I've been in football 15 years. Anybody who doubts my love for the game, anyone who doubts my passion for football, anyone who accuses me of being in football for a financial reason, you only have to look at my bank account. There's nothing further from the truth. All right, I love the game. I love watching football. I love being involved in football. I hope that's clear to people. I hope you can understand my perspective and where I'm coming from. Even if you're a Rotherham fan or a Wickham fan, or who else has been coming at me recently? I think I've had some MK Dons fans, a few Cambridge United fans, Cobbler fans. At the end of the day, we all share one common goal here, and that is for our football clubs to do well. We want our football clubs to be prosperous and healthy. Changes are coming that will make that happen. Right now, it's a shit show. In the short term, it's going to be a shit show. But long term, with the right medicine that we're about to get, with deals we can put in place, football can be a really, really healthy environment for the players as well. So that's where I'll leave it there on that. Hopefully everyone agrees with that. If you don't, let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. I'll be back after the break. And obviously I'll summarize what I've gone through in the podcast and move on to stuff outside of football. Welcome back. So enough about football for now. I'm going to talk about my life at the moment out here in the States. Last night was great. Took the family out. I'm doing this thing at the moment where I got my kids to do up their favorite 15, 20 restaurants. Every Wednesday they pull a name from the bowl. On the Thursday we go out for dinner. Last night was Benihana's. We went out for dinner at Benihana's. It was great to see. It was full. It was lovely to see life. It was lovely to see laughter. It was lovely to see loads of families out. Obviously, we've gone into phase 2 out here in Florida, which means restaurants are at near capacity. I think bars open tonight, nightclubs open tonight, cinemas are now allowed to open, gyms are allowed at 100%. So for those of you sitting at home in the UK or elsewhere that are still in a lockdown, trust me, good times are coming and you feel that freedom. It's wonderful. Life for us is normal out here. Bar wearing masks when I go into a shop or I go into a tight space. I do the right thing, not necessarily for me, but for those around us. We do wear a mask. I'm going to take my kids next week and go to Universal. It's reopened. So we're going to go down there and hit the theme park for a few hours. Disney's opening up in July. Yes, you got to wear masks while you're out and about for a while. There's some temperature checks. We've got to do all those things. We've got to tick all the boxes. We've got to do what we've got to do to get back to normal, the full normality that's coming. I'm still hoping to get my holiday in Dubai. It's scheduled for July. Right now, there's no flights out. They've got a quarantine rule in, but I've got it in good authority that hopefully the quarantine will be lifted. I think they test you when you arrive in. I've seen the UK still have this ridiculous 14-day quarantine when I come into the UK. So we have a home in the UK. We're gutted. It's the longest we've gone without actually being in it. Usually we'd be there for the summer. But I said to my kids, right now you've got a normal life here in the States. Why would you go to the UK and be stuck at home and not allowed to go out? So for us, we're going to take a few trips. We'll probably go down to Sarasota as well next week for a couple of days. The hotels have started to open. I thought about Vegas. The casinos are now open. I thought maybe a cheeky weekend with the missus in Vegas. My dad, who's 70, he's trying to live his normal life as much as I tell him to be careful. Like, he's got a new bird on the go. She flew in to see him this weekend, and he's gone off to Tampa for a couple of days. But he's a madman, my dad. He's not even a virus like this. He's going to let hold him back. So, but he's living life as safely as he can. My kids have now finished school. 2 of them have graduated, one into high school, one into middle school. They've had the reports in. The homeschooling, it was a struggle for one of them, but they still ended up getting a good report card. And we're looking forward to them getting back to school at the end of August. And I'm still looking forward to hopefully getting over to the UK at some stage, hopefully in August for when we organise a pre-season tour. Hopefully when the cinemas reopen, we're going to see movies out and about. The one thing I know is living in Florida, and I know people throw at me, oh, there's more infections. Florida does a lot of testing. The more testing you do, the more infections you get. But the great news here is the hospitalizations are down in the states that reopened 3-4 weeks ago, where everyone predicted dumb Floridians and you were going to see mass spikes and you were going to see mass hospitalizations and deaths. We've got 22 million people in Florida. And I think, as sad as it is, about 2,500 people have died. But right now, the hospitalizations are low, as they are in Georgia and Texas and other states. Our governor out here has done a really, really good job. And everyone, when you see the way people are living and going about their life, every day I go for a coffee in the same cafe, and every day it's got that bit busier because people are getting more and more confidence. And it's going to take time. The UK will take a few weeks for confidence, for people to fully be confident to go out for dinner, to go into a beer garden, to go to the local cafe, to go get their hair cut. This virus has knocked the confidence out of a lot of people. A lot of people maybe who haven't read the data and they believe the scaremongering and they follow Piers Morgan and people like that on Twitter. So they're terrified of leaving their house and they haven't studied the real data and who really are vulnerable from this. So I'm hoping a lot more of those people will feel more confident as the weeks and the months go by that we're coming out of this and this pandemic's going to be behind us. But right now for me in Florida, it's good. We're making plans for the rest of the summer. It's really hot out here. I'm having a barbecue tomorrow, a few people around. Obviously the kids can hit the pool. And I'm trying to keep things get things back to normal as much as possible for my 3 kids. I'm getting them to make, play dates with their friends, to get out there. I think when the cinema reopens on Monday, we're going to go to the movies next week. I think they're going to bring classics on because there's not many new movies that are actually out at the cinema. But from that perspective, it's good. From a business perspective, look, me, like you, like everyone else, I've taken a serious hit with this. I've been semi-retired for a good few years. I'm going to have to go back to work. I know that in my mind. I'm gearing myself up for October onwards. I'm going to invest in a few more businesses. I'm probably going to have to go back to maybe selling a bit of real estate. From my perspective, that's fine. I'm 44. I'll put my hands together. I'll roll my sleeves up. I'll get back to work. I'll do what I got to do for my family. I'm not going to let this pandemic define us. I've got to get our life back to the way it was and the way it should be. And if that means me having to put a few more hours in every day, not just on football, but on other stuff as well, that's what I'm going to do. And if you're sitting at home right now and you're unemployed and you've got no job hope, trust me, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you. And there are going to be things to be positive about and look forward to. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to send my love to everyone. God bless you all. Thank you very much for the support and listening to the podcast. Again, I hope it was interesting. I hope you take something from it. For the journalists out there who listen to it and want to get like sound bites and headlines and gotcha moments, please be respectful. Don't try and paint me as the bad guy by using some sentence I've used in this podcast. Again, I only speak the truth. There's going to be a lot coming out next week after the EFL meeting and the vote. I will probably do another episode based on that. And then I'll probably wrap up the series. So for now, have a great weekend, with your loved ones. And I'll speak to you soon. This is Darren McAntony, Football Club Chairman, The Hard Truth, episode 10, The Final Vote, signing off. Take care.